Hey everyone, we're live. It must be Monday because I'm here and Joel's here and you are in the JGOOT Village, a free community where we teach anyone, and we mean anyone, we really mean that, the basics of how to travel anywhere in the world for free. And we're definitely going to talk about that today, right, Joel?
We are. Yeah. We talk about two different rules. We talk about point hacking stuff, but we're going to get right back down to the basics about what I think is actually more exciting, talking about just finding good old fashioned good deals on flights
I
today.
think that sounds sexy, just in time for Valentine's Day.
Yep. Perfect timing. In fact,
Ooh,
we'll throw a little challenge out there of
wow.
a little Valentine's Day challenge with what we're talking about today. So
Wow, we're going
we'll
to get
have
right
fun.
into that. I like that.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. All right, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So, we would love to make sure that we can see who is commenting. So, Brooke from above is here, which I love. Hi, Brooke. She's going to keep us on the straight and narrow, as I always say. But for instance, we have a Facebook user, hi, from Arlington, Texas. So, if you could go over to here it is, streamyard.com/Facebook and give that permission. It's all you're giving it permission for, not to worry. That way we can see your name and see who's commenting. Now, let's not forget we have a ton of experts that are always in the audience. So we're not really going to do as many questions because Joel has a lot to say. He always does. But our experts were, and it's always good. Our experts will be in here popping in comments as well too. So make sure to check out the comments if there's something that we haven't answered. And I think that's it. Are we giving anything away today, Joel?
Yeah, well, we'll do one at the end. I didn't prepare any for during the presentation, but yeah, we'll still have our random drawing for comments during today's presentation. We'd love participation. So with that said, we'd love to know who is from where. Where are you watching from? Where's your home airport? Because we're going to do some live demos today, and we may as well use the home airport of wherever most of our viewers are watching from. So let us know where you're watching from.
I
And
like that Pepsi challenge. How much you want to bet this is Joe Rowe from here from below? It is.
I would bet a lot of money.
And listen, Greg is on it already. Thank you, Greg. He's saying Dallas, Denver. Hi, Anthony, another one of our experts checking in from an upgraded suite in Orlando, Florida. All right, fancy guy. I'm actually here in New York City, and Broadway is right over there. So we're all traveling, or at least I'm traveling today. We've got San Jose, we've got Nashville, Logan, SFO. Thank you, y'all. They listen, don't they? They're not playing around.
And forgive me, Mia, go ahead and hold down the fort for 30 more seconds. I just got a technical error from
Hey, I
someone
got you
about our
covered.
announcement.
That's what I'm here for. All right, we have Michael with Richmond. Thank you, Michael. Charlotte, PDX, Charlotte. Is it Rayo from Baleo? Joe? I thought it was just Joe Rowe. I was kind of digging that one too. But thank you, Joe. And Joe, go to streamyard.com/Facebook. And looks like you're trying again to see if it populates. Yeah, give it a try. You may need you know what? Turn it off, turn it back on again is always my favorite answer for that too. Tampa, it would be also a good thing for us is just to guess what's MSP? Do you know what that airport is?
Me? You quizzing me?
I am.
MSP is Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Ooh, dang. Nice. Thank you. I blew one a couple days ago. I given one of the shows. Hi, Gomer from BNA. Jessica from St. Oh, is that our girl? But in San Juan right now. Yes, she is. That's our Jessica, right?
Oh yeah, so
You
that is.
tagged it because
That
that's
is a
our
fun story. We have a testimonial from her later in the presentation, and
oh good. You like how
she's
we
there
took
right now
yeah.
celebrating someone else in our group's 50th birthday.
I saw that video.
That's
It gave
how
me a
cool this
little
group is.
goosebumps. It was so sweet. So yeah, Jessica, we actually own claim to you. Is that our Jessica? I love that story, Joel. Yeah, I can't wait for you to share that with everyone. All right, Boston. All right, are you ready? You feeling good on your technical adjustment?
I am. Yeah, we had our announcement of this webinar didn't go out via text, so
All right.
send
Well,
that out.
then we're going to get a lot more people, which is exciting. And meanwhile, this is fun. Hi, Linda. She says she has the travel bug. We'll get in line, and there's no cure for it except to keep traveling. Mira's in her new home in Senatobia, Mississippi. Welcome to your new place. I'm here in New York City. That hurts my heart a little bit. The Mira's not here, but oh well. Hi, Ronnie in Fort Lauderdale. All right, let's roll. You ready?
Yeah. So, yeah, we talk a lot about traveling for free on points. Oh, look at that. We doubled in volume from the text message going.
There you go. They see it works. You can tell it's working.
Okay, so yeah, we talk a lot about rule 2, how to travel for free on points, which is fantastic. And, there's a lot that we talk about that's a lot different than what most point hackers out there talk about. Most point hackers out there talk about, like there are a lot that will say, I haven't paid for a flight in 5 years. Well, that's not our philosophy. We have a little bit more of a yin and yang philosophy, that, half of our trips are cash deals. Half of our trips are points deals. And by picking the best of both worlds, that alone can stretch your points 3 to 5 times farther, let alone earning more points and redeeming those points more effectively. Just having the philosophy of, my goal is to get half of my deals at better than half off with cash. And those are usually better deals than what you could ever find with points. So even though we talk a lot about rule 2, always have points for when you can't find an exceptional deal, today we're going to talk about 2 things. 1, how to find those exceptional deals for cash. And 2, how to know whether or not it is actually an exceptional deal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. In my opinion, as you said, it's a much sexier topic. Like flying for free on points is cool. But when you know the math, this is even cooler because these are all trips that you could take the same points and book even more flights or even more hotels by just knowing the value of whether or not you should use points. But every single trip that we're going to find today, and let me know which cities we'll be searching from. But every trip we're going to find today is going to be a trip. And I'll show you the math. It's going to be a trip that's going to be at prices that would be better than if you went for free on points. In other words, you could cash out the points instead and pay yourself back and book 2 or 3 flights with cash with the deals that we're going to find today.
Look how excited everyone is. Carrie, I love a good cash deal. I feel you on that. I love finding the cheap flights for cash. And then we also have, I love cash deals. So that's, you're on there.
All right.
You're doing the right thing today. That's awesome. And Joel, I'm going to put this up here too, just in case people want to play along on the calculator. Go to jgoot.com/calculator. One of the coolest things that Joel has done, because I am such a numbers crunching Excel spreadsheet nerd. So go open this up while we're talking, jgoot.com/calculator, and you can play along with us and crunch some numbers.
Yeah, that would be good to have open while we're talking, because I'll kind of show you what this cash price is. And I can usually tell you off the top of my head, like how many points it would take. And you can do the calculations with this calculator, and you'll see that you should not use points for any of the cash deals that I'm pretty sure we'll be able to find today.
Which, look at this, have only booked 2 points flights since joining the lounge. So we'll talk about JGOOT Lounge as well. 2 years ago, cash prices are too good. Have over 800,000 points waiting. Oh my gosh. Now that's sexy.
That's good stuff. That's someone who knows the value of points.
Yes. Could you comment who it was that made that? Because we want to give you a shout out for one of our lounge members. All right.
Okay. So before we get started, let's talk about the number one objection, excuse, assumption that people make with what we're about to talk about today. And I just came up with this chicken or egg analogy because it is very much a chicken or egg thing. In other words, when I learned to travel this way, while going through a divorce, while assets were frozen, while lawyers were looking at every penny I was spending, while they were saying, there's no way you're not hiding money because you're traveling twice as often on half of the income. And the only difference was in my mindset. I refused to give up travel. They weren't getting any travel at all. I was concerned about them. I mean, their lives were being disrupted enough. And I did not want to, we had traveled a lot before, and I didn't want to change that. We had always left for spring break, always gone somewhere for fall break. And I didn't want to change that, at least during the time my kids were with me. And so, if I kept with my normal mindset of, well, I'm too busy right now, my income is cut in half, I have to work all the time, I can't afford luxury travel. If I kept telling myself those things, well, nothing would have ever changed. So the most important thing before we talk about what we're going to talk about today is that you clear your mind of any of those assumptions, because the trips we're finding today are not your annual guys trip to Cabo. They're not your annual family reunion. That's what Rule 2 is for. That's what points are for when you don't get lucky and you don't find a good deal. These are trips that you weren't planning on. These are trips that plan themselves because they're a quarter of the cost that you would normally expect to pay, a quarter of the cost that you probably would pay if you keep telling yourself that you can't travel. And the only time you plan trips is the, 1.5 times per year that you plan a vacation. So the very important thing is, you have to be aware that this is a chicken or egg thing. If you keep telling yourself that you can't afford to fly in first class, you won't ever afford to be able to fly in first class. If you keep telling yourself that you can't travel more than once a year, you won't ever travel more than once a year. But if you just open your mind to what we're going to look at today, everything changes. Everything changes, but not until you change that mindset of that most of us think about. And I mean, that's before I learned this secret. I mean, that's what we do. That's responsible thinking. I can't afford to travel more. That's because we keep traveling the traditional way. And it's so expensive when you travel that way, because you're painted into a corner. You're going on a specific trip at a specific time, and it's always going to be that way. But if you go where the deals are, whether that's cash deals or points deals, they both exist, and you're not going to find them unless you're looking every day. But if you go where those deals are, it changes everything. It cuts the cost of the two most expensive parts of most people's vacations by 80%. When you can do that, everything changes. You don't care as much about dining out costs. You don't care as much about excursion costs. You don't care as much about car rental costs, because you took the two biggest expenses, flights and hotels, and on average, you will slash those costs by 80%. And we're going to talk about doing that without points today.
We haven't talked about that in a while, Joel. Just real quickly, the comment of that really does free up a lot of your money. Like, think how great that is. One, you're giving more to the local economy of wherever you're visiting, because you're going and doing those excursions, going and doing those more expensive meals, because you feel better about that. A lot of times people just blow all their money just to get there, and then they're flat broke and they just kind of sit around and don't do much.
Yep. Look at this. 34 trips in the last 3 years. I wish we knew who that was, but
I do too.
Yeah. And again, this is the difference with, like every group of friends has that one person. It's not that they're more wealthy than everyone else. It's not that, they are retired or they don't work as hard as everyone else. They just simply have a priority on travel. And most likely they do some flavor of looking every day for deals, and they plan their trips around the deals. They don't say, I want to go to Santorini, which I just read is like one of the top 5 most expensive places to visit in the world. They don't say, I want to go to Santorini and then pay what the market will bear. They go to Santorini because they found a good deal. Then they can afford the expensive restaurants. And guess what? I did that just this past summer. We weren't planning on going to Greece, but we found, and this was a points deal, but we found round trip business class flights for 90,000 points.
I know. By the way, that was Joe that did 34 trips in the last 4 years, which I love. and last 3 years. And basically, it's mindset change.
Hmm.
A lot of people have said that it's
Yeah.
literally, it's not make more money, because that's our mindset too of like, I got to make more money. Then when are you going to have the time if you're trying to do that? So I feel, yeah, travel more.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And before we move on, again, I want to clarify this isn't about you don't have to do budget travel. You don't have to do business class travel. You can travel twice as often. You can travel just as often and still spend less in business and first class, all from just the mindset. It's so extremely important. So the second you find yourself saying, oh, I can't do that, yes, you can.
Yeah. Carrie, I love this
You can.
comment. And thank you for your other comment on how to download the calculator. She was JGooting before she was a part of JGoot. She was country before country was cool. Love, love, love the system in place here, taking the learning curve to saving. Traveled 32 weeks during 2022. That's
That's awesome.
crazy. I love it. And then let me say this real quick. So for the calculator, thank you again, Carrie. When it opens, click file, then save as a copy. This will duplicate the page and then you can enter your information. Thank you for that. And I believe that's also at the top too, but thank you for, we can just pop that comment up there. Very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was just, I kind of wrote this on a night of drinking, and it's still just a spreadsheet that you download. One of our members has volunteered to help us make that into an app that will be a little more user friendly. But for now, that's what we've got.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. got that wrong. I appreciate it. Moni, thank you. Manini's just saying that they're saying I'm still learning, which I love too. All right, here we go.
So again, one more thing just to kind of nudge you in the direction of changing your mindset. This is from one of our clients who joined our coaching program, who did nothing but apply these strategies that we teach. Oh my gosh, and I just got a comment on this. It looks like we have 300 live viewers right now.
We hit a record.
Our director of support, Brooke, has been bending over backwards, finding ways to make sure that our members know that we go live, and it looks like it's paying off. So
I think it
that's
is.
fun.
It's almost 5:00 here in New York, so I'm going to have a cocktail over that one. That's
Cool.
exciting.
So yeah, this is another member. Same thing. They took 7 trips for the price of one. Now, in all fairness, that one trip the previous year was to Disney. So, but still, what if that's only 3.5 trips? Pretty good just from a mindset change.
It is. And let me
That's
also
what
pop
we
this in here
teach.
too. If you're just now tuning in, as soon as this broadcast is finished, you'll be able to go back and watch it. So if you missed the first part of this, which is good information too, just wait until the broadcast is over and you'll have direct, correct, and immediate access to it.
Okay. So we're going to do some live demos today. Who was the top? What area is our top area of viewers today?
So it looks like we had 2 that were close by. So Baltimore and DC. So BWI and IAD. But then Brooke
Pretty
also.
much same territory.
Yep, she said
Great.
same territory. So another suggestion is to say, so like maybe those 2, and then JFK, Newark, or New York City.
Okay. Well, I don't recall doing one for DC for at least quite a while. So
Okay.
let's do that. Especially since Baltimore and DC are pretty much, those are similar areas. Yeah,
they are.
Mm-hmm. We cover those. We do searches for our clients, and we look at Reagan, we look at Dulles and Baltimore all in the same search. We treat it all as the same territory.
And I do question for you. Do you feel like Baltimore is less expensive than IAD though?
Sometimes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time, I believe our analysts mostly find Dulles and Reagan, but sometimes it's out of Baltimore, and that's why we look at all 3.
That's what I get to do as the host. I get to ask my own random questions. All right.
All right. So let's venture on over to so we're going to go and look at Kayak Explore as well as oops. Do you still see my screen?
I do. Yes.
I think you're seeing
see Kayak Explorer and I see Google Flights.
Okay, that's just my slide. So let me stop sharing and reshare.
Oh, did you have a live screen that we could go to the search?
I think I was just sharing the it looks like I was just sharing that search window and not my screen. So
Okay.
Stop sharing.
Yep. And then open another one up. Hang tight with
And
us real quick, everyone.
share screen.
It takes a village. Ha. See what I did there,
Entire
everyone?
screen. There we go. I'll do entire screen that way. There we go. That way I won't have to do that again. Okay, so let's see here. So this is Kayak Explore. Now, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I know about Kayak. Oh yeah, I know about Google Flights. There are two very different things about what I'm going to show you today. And that is that this is Kayak Explore, and Google Flights, we're going to talk about Google's Explore or Anywhere feature, depending on, I still call it Anywhere because that's old school. That's how long I've been doing this. And it's hard to break old habits, but it's now called Google Explore. But either way, Google Anywhere, Google Explore.
Make that a little bit bigger, Joel? Sorry to talk over you. Can you make your screen maybe? Is everybody seeing it okay? Maybe just a little more zoom out. And maybe it's just me. So I want to give everybody wants to know why you look so tan. That's Brooke's comment.
2 weeks in Mexico will do that.
Yes. All right. That's good. Thanks.
That's pretty much full screen. So
yeah, that looks great.
Let's see. So my default is Denver, as you can tell. I look at this a lot. And let's just look at this real quick. Let's just look in the US. Just for to compare and contrast. $100. Look at that. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 trips I could book right now from my hometown in Denver. Under $100 round trip. Come on. Like,
Phew.
We've eliminated the I can't afford to travel right here just from this. Now let's go compare for DC. I'm going to see if there's an all. There we go. All airports. And there we go. We have the same thing. You can go coast to coast for under $100. You can get to LA for under 100. You can go stick to the East Coast-ish and go for $41, $47, $85. So looks like I had more flights from Denver than DC, probably because I'm in the middle of the country and I could fly west or east. DC only can fly west. But still pretty darn good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's several airports here. Pretty close. 16 airports under $100. Now, again, if you're saying, well, yeah, but Joel, I've been looking every day. I haven't found anything. Remember, the rule is look every day and go where the deals are. It's not just look every day for your annual trip to Cabo with the girls from, July 14th to 21st.
Yeah, that's mindset change number 1 is destination.
And does that mean you can't go to Cabo on your girls' trip? Of course not. But that's probably going to be a Rule 2 trip because odds are about 4 in 5 that it's not going to be a good deal. You might get lucky and you just pay cash and you go. And in that case, that's great. That's what getting lucky means. But most times, probably 4 out of 5 times, it's not going to be a good deal. And that's why we have Rule 2, because it bails you out. It's your get out of jail free card if you can't find a good deal. But let's just kind of play around here with go where the deals are. So you live in the DC area. These are quick weekend trips. So before you say like, yeah, but I looked every day and I didn't see anything. Remember to kind of change your mindset of looking at this from a perspective of, well, gosh, I've got, a long lost relative, or not a long lost relative, a close relative who I haven't seen since pre-COVID. Could I go and visit them for a weekend for $100? Or Nashville. I keep meaning to get to Nashville. They've got a great music scene. Let's go there. $40. That's less than a round of drinks. And so like, rather than saying like, oh, it's never where I want to go. Of course it's not. That's what you pay market rate for. This is trips that plan themselves because of their prices. Because DC to Nashville, if you're lucky, 120, $150 is a good deal. Most people will pay $200 or $300, if not more, for a coach seat. So again, a lot of this is, remember, look every day, but just have an open mind. Look at it and maybe that's there, maybe that's the Caribbean. And remember, I just changed the filter to under $100. Let's be realistic. Under 250, we've got a ton of options for also a reasonably quick trip from DC. You're going to need to raise the bar a little more. We used to be able to regularly find sub $300 flights to Europe from the East Coast. Not as much the case anymore post-COVID. It'll come back down, but we're still kind of, supply and demand is pretty high. So
I think that's a great point too about changing our expectations just a little bit, because I think people did get it discouraged with prices coming up post, I say that loosely, post-COVID, but I think it's just more changing your expectation a little bit, but still continuing to travel in this manner. You just have to spend a little bit more money.
I see Anthony's post. I'm going to share this, Anthony.
Yes.
And I'll wait for confirmation if I can share it, but I'd like to share. It's a really cool story of the specifics on Anthony's $38 trip. Let me know if I can share that.
I will see if he'll message us. And I love that. No problem. No extra fees, because I did see a couple comments about it being, he says share away, by the way. So have at it.
Cool. We'll come back to that. Let me finish close the loop on Europe. Yeah. So look at this. I mean, you used to find sub 300. I'm actually a little surprised. We've got 300 to 400s for Europe. All over Europe. And some for pretty reasonable to Africa. So again, all of these are, we get inquiries all day, every day. How can you help me find from this place to this place at this time? Well, I mean, you've painted yourself into a corner so tight, it's no wonder you're struggling. But A, you could be a little more flexible on dates. B, do you really need to go to that specific place? Could you fly to, if you really want to go to Croatia, along with everybody else who has an Instagram account, and are shocked that flights are $1,000, could you get yourself to Portugal for $393 and then hop on Ryanair for $60 and fly to Croatia? Could you get to Paris for $300, stay there a couple days, and then hop down to Croatia? So again, a lot of these are mindsets of, even if you have specific criteria on where you need to go, tack on a few extra days somewhere else that's cheaper to fly to, and that solves that problem. So
and can I just pitch the lounge just for a second, because that is something that we do in the lounge a lot, which is super fun, as we all chat with each other about what kind of, hey, would you consider this? And then when we get that brainstorm and brain trust of everybody who's traveling, they come up with these type of alternatives that you're speaking about as well.
Right. It's really fun. Every week we have a happy hour in lounge. Now, again, this is a little sidetrack for discussing our paid coaching program, but we have anywhere from 50 to 100 members that join us on our weekly happy hour. And it's just like it sounds. It's basically an office hour where any question is allowed. And we'll either, one of our experts or our members will screen share and say, oh, well, here's, I found it this way and here's how I did it. But it's really fun. Sometimes we'll get someone who's got a really challenging travel problem, like they need to go somewhere specific. They do have points, but they don't have enough. And it's fun because you'll suddenly see just the tops of a bunch of people's heads, because they are getting on their computers and they're looking. And sometimes you just need to crowdsource this. And points deals they're not easy to find. Airlines, it's not in anyone's best interest to make point deals easy to find. They're mostly meant for loyal members who fly a lot. They're not intended for people gaming the system. And there aren't really sites out there that are as easy as Google Flights or Kayak Explorer, etc. So sometimes you just got to roll up your sleeves and figure it out. And that's one of the best parts about JGOOT Lounge is we've got, on average, 500 active members in our paid group who are all the most serious 1% of travelers in the population.
Right.
So you throw that problem out there in our paid group of only serious travelers, and entirely different things become possibilities than you would ever expect.
Yeah,
So
I just
if
got in this
interested,
comment about the hive mind, by the way, which I love. Hive mind rocks. Yes. Go ahead, Joel.
yeah. So shameless plug, if you're interested, if you're feeling like you're not just putting all these pieces together, it's because there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And do you want to do a 5,000 person jigsaw puzzle on your own? Or do you want to do it with 5 or 10 other people who also love doing jigsaw puzzles? That's really what you're doing when you join JGOOT Lounge. It's not tips and tricks and so on. It is a structured strategy that we teach, but it's really about the community of getting other people who also are very addicted to travel who are going to help out. So if you're interested, if you do travel often and you want to do so in business class, comment interested. One of our coaches can reach out to you and see if it'd be a fit.
Gotcha.
And you can either comment here or you can text our support line. Texting our support line will, which Mia put that number up, that'll give you a lot of our guides that we give away for free. And you can that way you have an open channel of communication. If you have a question about one of our guides, you can reply back. One of our coaches will answer that.
And that number is 720-706-7999. Just text your name and interested, and one of our coaches will get back to you and set up a call.
So
by the way,
let's
and it's to
see.
see if it's a fit. Sorry, I had to put that in there. Not everybody's a fit for it, but we'll help you determine that. So it is not a big pushy sales call, because you may not be, just may not be for you.
Well, and it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
If you have 1 million B of A points, we can't really, it would be unethical for us to say we can help you, because you can't do anything with B of A points. They're a penny a piece, whether we show you how to spend them or you spend them.
And that's Bank of America, folks.
So if you have the wrong points, we'll tell you. And if you want to switch to the points we think are the best value, well, then maybe it's a fit. If not, we'll tell you some sites that love B of A points. But a lot of this is a conversation of, do your travel goals fit with our structured philosophy, which we don't really sway on. There are about 10 steps to the JGOOT way of travel, and you either embrace them or you don't. If you're not going to embrace them, we'll tell you, because it would be a struggle for both of us. It'd be a struggle for us to help you. It'd be a struggle for you to apply the way you've always traveled to the JGOOT way. I saw a comment that I'm not seeing those prices from LA. Well, yeah, LA is about 5 hours farther. We're going to talk about cost per hour after this. So
okay, good.
Let's kind of finish out this from the perspective of people in DC. So pretty good. These are actually better results than I expected. And here's the fun thing. So like the magic isn't even in these prices, which are pretty darn good. You look at this, when you see something you like, you click in on it, you poke around, you see if you can find dates that work for you. They're not always going to be perfect. In fact, most times they won't be perfect. But you can look at it, you can see if that works for you. You can see if they have layovers that are okay. You can see if you can find dates that work on your calendar. And if not, here's where the magic comes in. These prices change not only every day, they change every hour. But our philosophy is just check once a day. It literally takes 5 minutes. One of my favorite testimonials from a client is, this is their morning date. They have a morning coffee date every morning, and they look over our email. So for our paid clients, we send an alert every day of 3 to 5 deals out of their home airport. And every morning they discuss our email of like, we weren't thinking of going to Shanghai, but Joel just sent a deal of flight plus hotel for $600 round trip. Want to go to Shanghai? And whether they go or not, it's fodder for conversation that starts off their day thinking about travel. And again, this is a mindset thing. If you keep telling yourself you can't travel more often, you'll never travel more often. If you're just open to the idea, just being open to that idea will make you travel more often. You can't help it. So let's just scroll on over to Asia. Let's see if we can find anything. I'm probably going to have to bump that score up, or that price up. $600 is pretty optimistic for Asia. 800, I can find plenty of deals for under 800. So there we go. And for the person who said they don't find anything from LA, well, they should look to Asia. So, for every person that says I can't find those prices to Europe from LA, you can find them somewhere else. You can find them to Asia. And the person in DC won't find, they won't find prices that you can find. So it's all a matter of perspective. The more concerned you are, the more you should look every day, because they change every day. If you don't like what you see today, I wouldn't jump at any of these. I can check back tomorrow and I will see a whole different list of different places and different prices. And remember, all you're looking for is one opportunity a year. One opportunity that's 60, 75, 90% less than what most people pay for that destination. And that changes everything about your travels. And people say, I don't have 5 minutes a day to do that. Well, I mean, we have a service that does it, and it takes a minute to look over our email. But really, if you think about it, 5 minutes a day compared to, how much time do you spend beating your head against a wall when you actually plan a vacation the old-fashioned way? It's usually days and hours on end per day. And you don't usually find very acceptable results. You end up being bitter about what you paid, and then all of your eating out hurts, all of your excursions hurt, everything hurts because you blew so much money on the damn flights.
Yeah.
Whereas if you plan everything around the flights, everything else becomes easier. So that's just an example with kayak. Now, let's go ahead and address the one concern people have of, well, I have very strict schedules. So quick caveat with this, all of these are, they do require you to kind of like this trip. If we click through on it, let's pick one that's cheaper. Let's go to Kuala Lumpur. If we look at this, now I'm working out without a net. Let's make sure we find those prices. This, a lot of people say, oh, they're never the prices they say. This can take up to 2 minutes to load. Notice this scroll bar. It's still loading. Now, we found the prices they promised, but it's still working. Sometimes you can find even better. But let it finish its job, because these are complex queries. They're searching a lot of data and sifting and sorting it for your needs. So good thing it turns out I'm not a liar. You can go there for $6.98. And once you see it, then you can start to play around with the dates. So you can see this is in October, the 6th to the 14th. That's pretty nice. And it's Friday to Saturday. That's good for most people's work schedules.
Yeah.
But if if that doesn't work, you can tinker with these dates. We have our bullseye training that shows a really effective way to give 49 different combinations of dates that will have very high odds of having this price. So text bullseye to our support line and we can share that training with you. So just because you can't go in October doesn't mean that it's not also available in certain dates in September. It's probably also in November and December, which is a great time to go to Indonesia or anywhere in Southeast Asia. So always know that you can play around with these dates. And again, those assumptions that, people throw up their hands. I can't go from the 6th to the 14th. There are plenty of other dates that these prices are available. Kayak Explorer is just a vein of silver that you go and follow when there's a deal that intrigues you. And if there isn't a deal that intrigues you, your job is done. Move on, come back the next day.
Joel, let me just clarify for the point you made about Bullseye. You'll need to text that actually to 720-706-7999. Just text your name and the word Bullseye, and we'll get that information to you.
Yeah, Facebook is very, very restrictive. Our moderators and our coaches get locked out of Facebook all the time. So if we just replied to everyone a lot of people who just commented Bullseye, then we would get locked out and not be able to do our jobs. So we'll have you text our support line and we can get to you that way. So that's Kayak Explore. It's absolutely best for entrepreneurs, people with flexible work schedules, empty nesters, retirees, because sometimes it does require that you take an extra day or two off, or leave in the middle of the week or whatever. So people with traditional 9-to-5 jobs can't always do it. But as we can see with this random one, I mean, you're taking 6 days off of work. That's just about anyone can do that. This fits very much with, a typical vacation schedule and takes advantage of a weekend.
Joel, can you answer this real quick about business class? A couple of people have popped that in there. I figured you could just clarify that real quickly on the search.
So great question. That's probably the biggest downside of Kayak Explore is this feature is only limited to economy. But anytime, since all of these prices are typically based on supply and demand, when they don't have enough butts and seats, they drop prices. That's all we're looking for. We're looking for those screaming deals because it's the same planes, it's the same pilots, it's the same crew. It's just not as crowded, and that's why they're dropping prices. So typically, there's a very high correlation. If they're dropping the price of coach, they are also dropping the price of business and first class. Okay. So again, treat it as a vein of silver. Go and do your search. Find these great deals that are half price, quarter price, sometimes 80 or 90% off. I mean, we have members all the time who have flown in the US for $11. You can't do that with points. Like flying with points costs $11 in taxes.
Right.
And we've had people that have found cash deals for $11. So you're just looking for that cheapest deal. And then if you want business, you can just toggle that right here. Again, no guarantee. It's typically going to be about double the cost, but business and first class is typically 3 to 10 times the cost.
Right.
So you can just toggle on business. You can change it, once you follow that vein of silver and go to dig on the best deals that look good to you, then you're right on the Kayak search engine. You can play around with it all you like. Now, Google Flights does allow you to search only for business class, but for the sake of demonstration, let's say that you are a very, very busy professional and you only have a 10-day window that you can travel and you're stuck with it. No problem. So same thing. We're going to say DC, and I believe they can do all areas. Yep. Where to? Let's pick a peak season, middle of the summer. Middle of June. Let's play our odds and say the 13th to the 22nd. Why? Because Tuesdays and Thursdays are typically better days to travel. You are kind of hedging your bets on better prices on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So let's just try that. And then we just hit the Explore button. And there we go. We've got the same thing. So if we play with this price, remember what did I find? Like 16 places under $100 in the US. Mm-hmm. Just know, like when you say, I can't travel on certain dates, these are the restrictions that you're placing on yourself. So 0 flights for $100 during those peak season dates. Nope, not a big deal. You raise the bar and still some okay deals. Right. But again, it's a mindset thing. if you paint yourself into a corner on specific dates, just expect that it's going to take more effort, more cost, more points, more all of it. You can still find great deals, but it's going to take more effort, just like what we demonstrated here. And again, like if you keep telling yourself, if you don't end this call and look for deals and you go back about your life and then don't get to planning your trip until 10 weeks before your trip, you're going to keep traveling the exact same way. But if you just set your calendar for a reminder to check Google Flights tomorrow morning, to check Kayak Explore tomorrow morning, to check our Trip Alert email if you're a subscriber every morning, your travel life will change. Because there are times where even though you told yourself you couldn't take but these specific days off, what if you just like found a deal that was 2 days earlier that knocked $1,500 per person off the flight cost? Could you afford to take those extra 2 days as unpaid days off of work? Probably. I mean, even doctors and lawyers billing out at $500 an hour could usually justify taking an extra day or two off of work to save $1,000 or $15 per person in their family. So again, it's a mindset thing. And you don't get to make that mindset shift until you change the mindset first and start seeing the deals.
Yep. Love this. Somebody said this happens to us all the time, those deals. Too good not to take off early.
So let's just scroll over. Let's change the price. Stops, airlines. Where did it go? Price. There it is.
Okay.
All prices. Okay. So if we scroll over to Europe, so same thing, like still some great deals. Let me zoom in so this is a little easier to look at. Still some great deals, but about double, if not triple on average. It's a lot easier to work your calendar around a flight deal than to get the airline to work around your calendar. Right. That's kind of the philosophy here. So hopefully this kind of gave you some demonstrations of, yeah, that's fine. You can still travel on your schedule. You can still travel to the destinations you want. But the more restrictions you place on yourself, the more you're going to be looking at expensive flights, the more you're going to be dependent on those oh so valuable points. The more you plan trips around these deals, A, the more you save, B, the more you get to hoard those points. And let me tell you, like when you have points to burn, there is nothing better because you have the luxury of sitting back going, I'm not spending points on that. Like I'm, and you've gotten addicted to this going where the deals are, and you schedule trips around $5,000 or $7,000 flights that are ultra luxurious that you only need $1,000 worth of points for. And they happen all the time. We have members that have taken $20,000 worth of flight in a private apartment. We have like 5 members that are doing it together. They're going to Japan in a seat called the apartment. That's $20,000. They're doing it for like $104 in taxes and $1,000 worth of points. You can fly there for coach for $1,000. All because they have the mindset of going where the deals are. And that doesn't take a lot of points. It takes a change in mindset. So hopefully this was a good demonstration from an area we haven't done it before in DC and Baltimore, that you can just play around. And, once you're here, once you see that, oh gosh, this isn't bad. I could go to Ireland for $500 on my specific dates.
Right.
Then you're on the Google Flights search engine. Then you've got the Google that you always know. But the key is Google Explore, Kayak Explore, look every day. It's a complete game changer to prices you're going to pay.
Joe, I know. I was just thinking like, why wasn't I invited on this? There, you
You
know what?
also got to
There's
check your
51.
posts in the lounge every day because those
That's
things
true,
disappeared fast.
because it was right there. That's right. Totally.
Oh, and Mira shared a great one that I just saw that you accidentally
Yep.
posted up. That's more than we have time for today, but that's another thing is, yeah, I mean, in our Trip Alert service, we look up the coach price, we look up the business class price, and we look up the flight plus hotel price for coach or business. Because that's another way to get a discount. Schedule it around the deal and then bundle it with the hotel. Now there are pros and cons to that. Also, don't have time for that today. But if you schedule your vacation around the deal and then you bundle it with the hotel, we've had times where you basically get the hotel for free because they discount it so heavily because they know that they're not going to get your business. Like Kayak knows they're not going to get your business and I'm sorry, it's not Kayak. It's like Expedia, Travelocity, the OTAs that book these trips. So, and sorry, OTA stands for Online Travel Agent. They know they've got your business for the flight, but there's no money in the flights for them. Like they make a tiny little percentage. So they figure while they've got you, let's throw the biggest possible discount we can get and hopefully get a commission off of that hotel too. And we've literally had members who have booked, like thrown in a hotel with their flight that they weren't planning on booking, but they booked because it was a good deal. And then they got the hotel for super discounted rates as well. So that's just an extra little tip of anytime you look, also look at the, once you drill down on a specific flight, you can look at the flight plus hotel price.
And Elena,
That's a
there
huge
are a
opportunity.
couple people who asked that question, so that ties in
Yep.
nicely with it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of our 10 Hail Mary plays that we have. So Hail Mary plays are a curriculum we give inside the lounge. It's one of our mini master classes. And Hail Mary plays are just like what they sound. They're a desperation play, kind of like Philadelphia did last night. Very last play of the game with seconds to go. Very slim odds of it working, but it's better than nothing. You have no other choice. So we have 10 different Hail Mary plays that you can do if you don't have enough points, if you have specific dates and it's just not working. There are 10 different strategies you can do. We have 3 of them in our free group. Text Hail Mary to our text line and we can send that off to you.
Pop your name in there too, please.
And I think I gave one of our 4th ones away, bundling flight and hotel. Yeah. That's a great way to save if you're not finding a good enough deal. Just get a bundle discount, bundle your hotel with it. So let's come full circle to, like, we've looked at these. If any of these trips you could run through the calculator, odds are you're not going to find, even at 686, even at 698, you're not going to find a good use of points at that price. You don't even have to do the math. And that's the other beauty of this. Like, there's no math required. If any of these trips pass the feel good rule, that's one of our rules. Like, do you feel good about the price? Book it. You don't need math. If a deal looks so good that you're wondering if it's a mistake, book it. Worst case, they can cancel it on you, but I've never had it happen. And every single one of these destinations are at prices that you'd be crazy to waste points for these prices. Every one of them. There's no way you can justify. I challenge the best point hacker out there to justify a use of points when they could fly to Barcelona for $300. And it's probably even at 2 or 3 times that cost for business class. There's not a good use of points that justifies that. So the beauty of this is, like, you don't need points. Got bad credit? Great. Apply rule 1 every day. Low income? All the more reason you should be applying rule 1. When Michelle and I were dating,
every day, and rule 2 is use points. Well, remember, if you can't find that,
look every day and go where the deals are.
And
not just look every day.
That's right. That's right. What were you saying? When you and Michelle were dating?
When Michelle and I were dating, I'm like, okay, we're getting kind of serious. I'm going to be meeting the family soon. Those flights are like $250, $300 on a good day. I found $29 flights. I said, hey, sweetie, want to go back home to Indiana? I looked every day. I go where the deals are. And of course, it got the rumors starting, but we were close enough that was coming. But really, we weren't going back to, we weren't going back for a big announcement. We went back because I found $29 flights. Look every day, go where the deals are.
Surprise. Right.
Yeah.
There's no surprise. We just got a good deal. That's awesome.
So let's come full circle and talk about how do we know it's a good deal? So first of all, if you do this strategy, at least with the Kayak Explorer feature, they're all good deals. That's the best flight that Kayak has in their algorithm for the next 10 months. That's the best price to that destination from your home airport. You don't need math for that. Hurry up and book it. If it's a destination you want to go to, if it fits with your calendar, you don't have to think about it. It's a good deal. If you're in that, if you're looking and contemplating, we use what is called the $120 rule. I used to kind of have a rough idea based on mileage, but you got to be pretty geeky to know how many miles it is to the other side of the world, to the other side of the country, all that stuff. It's a lot easier. Most of us have a rough idea of how many hours of flight time it is to Europe from New York or from LA. Right. We have a rough idea of how many hours it is to Asia from the West Coast or from the East Coast. So it's easy to know off the top of your head of like, okay, yeah, that's an 8-hour flight. If I want to fly in business class, the JGOOT definition of a good deal for an 8-hour flight is what? Is that 1,060? $960 for business class. Don't pay more than $960 in business class. Look every day. If you want to go to Europe, look every day, and anything better than $960 in business class, great deal. Hurry up and book it. That's the $120 rule. If you're flying to Europe in coach and that's an 8-hour flight, 8 times 6, 480. Don't pay more than 480 to fly to Europe in coach. Yeah. Does that mean if it's $70 an hour, it's not a good deal? No. But as a general guideline, if it's half off, if it passes the $120 rule for business class, if it passes the $60 rule for economy, that's a great deal. You don't need to worry about it. Hurry up and book it. It's not likely going to get much cheaper, but it could get a lot more expensive. So right. That's kind of like how we take this full circle and know whether or not it's a good deal. And again, anything that passes the $120 rule, you don't have to worry about whether or not you should use points. You shouldn't. I'm here to tell you, like 9 out of 10 times, it would be not just a bad use, but a terrible use of points. And that's what our calculator helps with. If you just really don't want to spend the cash, our calculator will sometimes it'll say, it's an okay deal. You could use it, but if you're tight on points, we don't advise it. Or we say, that's a screaming deal. Hurry up and book it. Or that's a terrible deal. Please don't do it.
So can you pull up speaking of which, I was just starting to ask you, and you just mentioned it. Could you pull up the calculator real quick just to show us? It's kind of fun to see.
Sure.
The algorithm that Joel has, which will say exactly what he just said, what he said, that it's whether it's a great deal or not. So yeah, just walk us through this real quickly.
So let's use one of those examples. What did we see? Barcelona.
I think so.
Barcelona from DC, and that was $320. $320. But here's an example, and East Coast to Spain is best case. Best case is about 15,000 points round trip, but more likely 20 to 30,000 points. So let's plug it in. 15,000 points. If you're really good at this and the planets align perfectly, you can get to Spain round trip in economy for 15,000 points. Best case. Now that says that's an okay flight, but the other thing I guarantee is you're probably looking at about $200 in taxes.
There it is. So you factor that in as well too.
Yeah. So this calculator helps you know, like, should I book this with cash or should I use points? Because again, the goal of the JGOOT Way of Travel is preserve those points for when they can put you in a flight that you would never dream of paying actual cash for. And I'm talking private apartments in planes, lie flat business class for 15-hour flights, that you've got like 2, if not 3 meal services, seats that turned into beds. Did I mention that? 15, 18-inch TV with unlimited movies, etc. So yeah, there's a demonstration where that trip that we found, if it was $320, best case is a terrible redemption. Now we could go into the math of how that math changes for business class and how it's not as lavish as people think to do business class because of that tax, but that's a whole lesson in itself. But bottom line, that deal is better than any points deal any point hacker out there could ever find. I guarantee it. Because you're going to pay $100, $200, even if you only pay $100 in taxes. I mean, it's barely. Like, I think if we spent 90, it's going to become an okay deal. But JGOOT, like, our minimum cutoff is 1.5, really 2 cents. You don't ever want to spend points unless you're going to get at least 2 cents. And that's what this little
chart
thermometer is for.
Yes, I love that.
Print this out. I'll keep on this screen. Do a screen grab. Memorize this thermometer. This is what you want to live and die by when it comes to spending your points. And why did we just talk for the last 65 minutes about using cash? So that you can ratchet up into this yellow and orange and red range. Because the more of those screaming cash deals you find, the more you get to hoard your points for these orange and red burst the thermometer unicorn deals.
Joel, can you zoom in real quickly on your screen so we can see the text that's kind of the, what comes out? Yeah, look at this. This is an okay redemption, but just okay. Definitely better than what you'll get towards gift cards. So I really appreciate that detailed feedback. So you can know, like, is it good? Is it not good? And right. You gave great examples as well.
Let's just make it a terrible redemption again.
Okay, because it's funny. I like how it's in caps. For the love of all things holy, don't redeem those points. Thank you.
I did write this over. My wife was out with girlfriends. We had happy hour and I kept the bourbon going. So
it's funny.
And I just decided not to edit it. It was written.
Yeah, somebody said, "Oh my God, that cracks me up." Yes, me too. Which is why I had him pointed out. So, love it.
So let's put that up, like, for people to find it. It's free now. It's a spreadsheet. We'll eventually make this into an app or something. But the key is right here. These are the instructions. You can't edit this yourself. And let me just put this back to.
Sorry, I know. Hold on. Here we go.
What was it?
Okay, go to jgoot.com/calculator, and then you can right click and save it. And then you can make that your own little personal, keep that open as you're, sort of goofing around. And in the beginning part of it of learning this, just throw a bunch of prices in there. Don't forget to, figure out what the taxes would be if that's the case, if that's just to find out for points. But yeah, I love this.
And so for the 29 people watching this right now, you can't. Oh, cool. 27 probably downloaded their own copy. Good deal. So you can't edit this yourself. If we did that, it would be a mess. Because this is my spreadsheet. I share it with you, and all you do is you literally just make a copy. Name it whatever you like. Make a copy. This will be your copy that you can edit as you see fit. So either save that to your drive or bookmark it. That's your copy that you can do with as you please. Yeah, for the 32 people watching this right now, you can't change it, but that's how you can change it yourself.
And that's the 32 people that are in the file. And then also, if something happens that you accidentally click and mess up the sum and the cells, you can just come back and reshare it again. You can get a fresh copy of it.
Yep. Yeah. And then just little random plug. I guess when I hover over the URL, it shows
Oh, I love that.
my picture. That's fun.
Yeah.
So this and again, what are you saving your points for? This kind of stuff. This was a $12,000 one-way flight in a, I don't know, like 6x8 apartment. Notice this is like a 32-inch TV. I also had one in front of me because, when we take off, I have to be facing forward, and heaven forbid I not be able to watch TV while taking off. So I have two TVs. I had a 6x8 apartment. I had a bed. It was a $12,000 flight. I did not need 1.2 million points, which is what some people have spent. I used 50,000 points, which is basically $500 worth of points for a flight that most people spent $1,500, if not $2,000 to fly in coach. And I did it with $500 worth of points, $26 in taxes. Talk about a unicorn deal. I did a $12,000 flight, 50,000 points, $26.
What's it
Notice
say?
that the color changes to coordinate with the thermometer.
Yes, I love that. What's it say? Check.
So
What's that say? Check.
Again, I wrote this while drinking.
Oh.
That's a 24-cent redemption.
Oof.
Check to make sure this isn't a mistake. If not, book that bleep ASAP.
And Donna, just to answer your question, if you downloaded it, you don't need to make a copy. That's your copy of it. It's fine.
Download, copy, same thing. It's just a matter of whether you want it on your hard drive or on
as a tab,
as a bookmark. Yeah. So, $120 rule. That's what gives you an idea of value. Again, you're not going to need it for these places. Pretty much all of these destinations pass the $120 test. They're the best price to that destination from your home airport. You're not going to need math much. It's going to be a good deal, and you should book it, and you should plan your trip around it and spend the savings on other stuff like fancier dinners or excursions or more excursions or more trips or first class.
Yeah.
I mean, we have people all the time that use this strategy not to save money, but to fly there for the same cost in first class.
Yes. Right. So not economy, but the better price for first class, which I love. And Carrie, thank you for this information. So I saw a couple people were still commenting things that they were wanting, but you're going to still need to either text Bullseye or a calculator or Hail Mary or coaching call and with your first and last name to 720-706-7999. Okay.
Well, that's all I got. We could do a savings card giveaway, or why don't we do the savings card giveaway? Yep. And then let's answer a couple questions. I got a little carried away with live demo stuff.
No worries. That's exciting. So while I pull up, we had 359. We may have a few more comments, but that's how many comments we had. So I'll do random number generator if you want to go over to the starred comments that I pulled up for you. So I'm going to do my own drum roll. Thank you. And commenter number 227, you are the winner of the $100 travel savings card. I'm going to pull this up as well.
I'm going to date myself. Are you going to date yourself with that number?
Room 227.
Who's with me? Who's with me?
Well, I was going to say something earlier, like book it, Dano, to see who else got that one. Now tell me you're in your 50s without telling me you're in your 50s. Okay. Yeah. Good one. All right. So you want to pull up some comments, and then you can also go to, if you want more information about the travel savings card. So Brooke is going to count back for us and let us know who the winner is. So she will announce that on here, and she'll get in touch with you.
So this was a very first question. This is a great one. Now we're drifting into points questions. I should have saved this. I should have done cash questions first, but oh well. This is a great Rule 2 lesson of, and we elaborate this in our bad points. Mm-hmm. No, it's not bad points. It's cash back. Our cash back card. So Wells Fargo is essentially a cash back card. Wells Fargo earns Sometimes it earns 2 points, but it can only be redeemed at a fixed value of 1 penny per point. So I can tell you with 99.9 certainty that you just booked LAX to GAV to LAX.
Oops.
I actually can't, I admit that I don't know GAV, but what I can tell you is I guarantee that that was a $2,800 flight, because Wells Fargo points are worth a penny a piece, no more, no less. So my advice to you would be, was it a bad or good redemption? It doesn't matter, because you can't get more than a penny a piece. By Amex standards, that's a very poor redemption. By Wells Fargo standards, it doesn't matter. That's all you're going to get. It was a $2,800 flight, and you used $2,800 worth of points for it. So my suggestion would be to watch our cash back training, because anything that has fixed value is basically a cashback card. It's not really a travel card. They say you can use it for travel, but the real benefit is taking points and taking $500 worth of points and getting a $5,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 flight. You can't do that with Wells Fargo points. Can't do that with B of A points. Can't do that with Discover points. Can't do it with Costco cash back. There are a dozen different things. So for everyone who says, what about this card? If it's not a Chase card that earns ultimate rewards, or if it's not an Amex card that earns membership rewards, and this one includes Capital One, it includes Citi, everything, you're working harder than you need to for your points, and you're not getting max value. So what I would suggest is, don't feel bad about that. Those points were worth no more than a penny a piece, but I would shift your spend to a Chase or an Amex card that is covered in our free guide that you can find at, just go to jgoot.com, check out our free training library. Free guide is the first thing in that list. Get one of those cards that we recommend, because those are the ones that you can work magic with.
Or
no magic can be done with Wells Fargo. So the good news is it wasn't a bad redemption, because you couldn't have done any better until you get a different credit card.
Fair enough.
Let's see. Not sure why StreamYard isn't working. Love cash deals. Oops. I got the good redemption. I think we're both clicking things, so it's.
Oh, sorry, we are. Go ahead.
I don't know what this was. This wasn't what I was intended on clicking, but.
Okay.
For how many people in what class of service, get the JGOOT calculator and figure out if it was a good redemption. So yeah, I mean, everything is built that it's per person. If it's multiple people, it's going to be, if it's 4 people, it's going to be 4 times as many points. You should multiply the cash value by 4 times. You should multiply the tax value by 4 times, and it'll run the same math. Just make sure not to mix that. If it's 2 people, double everything, or just calculate the cost per person.
Joel, let me pop this one in. I believe it's been answered in the comments, but I do like this. When you talk about 8 hours to Europe, does that include actual elapsed time, including layovers, or actual flight time?
Great question. So that is, and again, this is just an arbitrary rule of thumb that I came up with, that this is easier than actual miles. So it shouldn't, it doesn't, if you have a layover, don't count that time. If you have 2 flights, don't count the combined time. What you're looking for is what would it cost to fly direct from destination A to destination B, one way, and that determines the round trip cost. In hindsight, I should have called it the $60 and the $30 rule and done round trip, but it's complicated. You got to make a math adjustment either way. So basically, you don't worry about layovers. You don't worry about actual flight time if there are multiple legs. It's just, what should that destination cost if it were a direct flight? And then just apply the $120 rule. So great question. What else? BWI is cheaper. Yeah, I mean, this happens all the time in DC, in New York, in LA, in San Francisco. Anywhere where there are multiple airports in one hub, it's going to be different all the time. And sometimes one destination might be better for certain parts of Europe and certain parts of Asia or whatever. We keep an eye on all 3. Whenever I do searches, notice that I just searched for the general area. WAS is not an airport code. That's short code for all 3 airports, which happens to include DC, Reagan, and Baltimore. And assuming you're willing to drive to those destinations, that's how I recommend searching.
Gotcha.
Let
me pop this one in here. We mentioned it before, but just to Elena had answered, you answered it, but I just want to reiterate this too. What about hotels? How do you tie those into the trip? Just whatever's cheapest, or looking for a particular chain?
So, there are multiple ways for hotels. If you find the deal, you can bundle it. There are pros and cons to that. When you bundle, you're going through Travelocity or Expedia or some third party. You're not booking straight with the hotel. So you lose a little bit of perks with that. And you pick up some headaches if there's a problem with cancellations. But bundling with your flight is a great option. If you're collecting points, you can do rocket miles. There are other, you can book hotels. If you're going for companion pass, you can book through Camp Southwests. And then of course, we're evolving our training to go from, we call what we teach point hedging, not point hacking. Point hacking is get lots of credit cards, spend lots of money, earn lots of points, and there isn't as much emphasis on redemption value. Point hedging is hedge your bets. Only spend points when you're going to get, 3 cents, 5 cents, 12 cents per point. And then only use cash when you'd be stupid to use points. And it's kind of a perfect little symbiosis that allows you to get better at it. The beauty of that is if you don't find a good deal bundling, you can get yourself there on a free flight, and then you can move on to point hedging 201 strategies. So 101 strategy, find cash deals. That's point hedging 101. Has nothing to do with points, but has everything to do with preserving your points. Point hedging 201 is actually all about hotels. And that's where you take your points and you redeem them for max value with hotels. So cash gets you there for cheap without any need for points. Point hedging 201 gets you great deals on points if you don't find any good hotel deals. And point hedging 301, that's where it gets fun. That's where you get into the advanced crazy redemptions with airlines. It's a lot more difficult than hotels, but that's why it's point hedging 301. So hopefully that answered your question on hotels. Lots of different ways, depends on your goals and your objectives.
So I'm going to
all, again, I'm going to throw a shameless plug in there.
Yeah.
These are all master classes these are all master classes that we talk about in JGOOT Lounge.
Yes.
That, there is no unique scenario. Depending on your home airport, it's an entirely different strategy for someone who wants to get to Europe from the East Coast or the West Coast. If you want to bundle hotels, entirely different strategy of whether you have cash or a lot of points or a lot of cash, or you're pursuing companion pass, or if you have companion pass. So there are just 1,000 different variables on what's the best deal. Impossible to cover in these free trainings, which is why we have a paid personal coaching group to get those questions answered. It's not for everyone. It is for people who stamp their passport a couple times a year and are just tired of doing it in coach. If you're interested, comment below, or better yet, text our support line and one of our coaches will see if it's a fit. Because as you can see, there are a dozen different answers to a dozen different questions that take a little more involvement that can be done in live streams with 300 people in them, or Facebook groups with 50,000 people in them, etc. But it does work. Christina and Jerry took their first trip to Italy all entirely on points in first class for about $150.
Oof. And we do breakdowns of those trips as well in the lounge, really deep dive breakdowns into it. So, and I love this from Jessica.
Jessica she earns points, but most of their deals are still Rule 1 trips. In other words, they're not using points for most of their vacations. And I forget, I don't know if Jessica's watching because she's on vacation right now, literally on vacation, to go celebrate another one of our members' birthdays. Like they met at our meetups, and like Jessica's gone on 2 or 3 vacations where people said, "Oh, I'm going to this place." She's like, "Oh, we've wanted to go there. We'll come meet you."
I love it.
So pretty cool stuff. And I share that just to say, like, there are lots of questions, there are lots of variables. Whether you join our paid group for support to kind of expedite that process, we do have a 6-month guarantee that you will be able to book in business class for less than what most people pay for coach within the next 6 months. Or if you just keep taking advantage of our free stuff, keep showing up for our Monday webinars. It is something that you slowly learn step by step, much like learning a new language. Why don't we wrap up with one last question and then wrap it up?
I love this comment, though. Thank you, whoever said this. Enjoy the presentation. Thank you. Here's it is. Are the incredible prices shown booked directly with the airline, or is it some third-party site or a consolidator?
So both,
before, but let's reiterate.
Great question. Both Google and Kayak are not, like, neither of them book these trips for you. They send you to the airline or to the third party. None of these are consolidator fares. At JGOOT, we're not believers in consolidator fares. But both Google and Kayak are what are called aggregators. They just aggregate a bunch of information and give it to you so you can go and do your own research from there. You click through, sometimes they'll give you options and you can book it straight through United Airlines or through Expedia or through Travelocity. So, when you drill down, it's just like every other search engine where you can see, it's transparent, you can see what you're booking. Definitely go with the more reputable names. Try to avoid the smaller third parties. It's not usually worth it for the extra money that I'm not going to name names, but non-major third parties are not usually worth the risk.
Gotcha.
So stick with the Expedias, the Travelocities, or directly with the airlines or the hotels. Cool. Well, I think that can count as our last question.
There
since
you go.
We've gone nearly an hour and a half. Thanks everyone for sticking around.
We'll see you next week.
Travels.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Next month.